The governor of Connecticut, Dannel Malloy, is under investigation for violating conflict of interest laws regarding the Cigna Anthem merger. Now, there hasn't been a lot of coverage on this, but if they were to merge these two companies, Cigna and Anthem, they would effectively create the largest insurance health industry company in America. See, the International Business Times is reporting that Governor Malloy, a Democrat, is now cutting the budget for watchdog agencies that have been critical of said merger. Now, David Sirota writes for the International Business Times, quote, facing high-profile investigations of his administration and state party, Connecticut Governor Dannel Malloy is moving to slash the budgets of watchdog agencies that enforce ethics, campaign finance, and open records laws. The move is a reversal from only a few months ago, before the new probes began, when Malloy's administration said it would not enact such cuts to the agencies whose budgets are covered by a law designed to protect them from gubernatorial retribution. I've got more on that later. So, why? Why would he cut the budget? Why would he cut the budget? Well, it's because he's under investigation. The article explains that in mid-June, the Connecticut Office of State Ethics voted to launch an inquiry into whether Malloy's administration had violated conflict of interest laws when it appointed former Cigna lobbyist Catherine Wade to a top post leading the regulatory review of Cigna's proposed merger with Anthem. So basically, Malloy is under investigation for appointing a former lobbyist for Cigna to do a review of what could be Cigna merging with Anthem. See, that merger would not only have a huge impact on competition, essentially eliminating competition, leading to higher prices for insurance companies, or for insurance, and more profit for insurance companies. Well, fantastic. And they're going to argue, oh, no, that's not a conflict of interest. No, what are you talking about? No, what it is that it seems like it's crony capitalism in its truest fashion. See, instead of getting rid of Catherine Wade, they decide to not only keep her in that appointed position, but to defund the watchdog agencies that are investigating him. The article explains. Less than 2 weeks after the probe was launched, the ethics office said Malloy's administration announced that the agency's budget would be cut, as would the budgets for the state's Freedom of Information Commission and the State Elections Enforcement Commission. At the time, the latter agency had just forced Malloy's State Department to pay $325,000 to settle a case about the party's use of a state contractor campaign cash to help Malloy's re-election. That settlement preceded a new and ongoing federal grand jury probe into the issue. So look, Malloy, he's in some hot shit. He's in some trouble because this isn't the first shady thing that he's done in Connecticut. Now, Connecticut Common Cause Executive Director Sherry Quickmeyer said in a press release, quote, Governor Malloy appears to be putting his own political interest over the state's long-term interest in honest and accountable government. Well, no shit. That's exactly what's going on. Hey, I don't like these people investigating me, so let's cut their funding. Problem solved. No, problem not solved. You're still corrupt as hell. Now, of course, Malloy's office disagrees. And he says, no. You don't understand. We have to cut their budgets because we have fiscal challenges. Now, this is Malloy's budget director, a man by the name of Benjamin Barnes. He said, your agencies were not unfairly or disproportionately targeted in assigning the holdbacks. Now, holdbacks are essentially holding back the funding to these agencies that they would normally get. And then, of course, you would have to appeal to that, and that is controlled, of course, by the upper branch. By essentially Malloy. Great. So Malloy's got control of that. Now, he says, he continues, all facets of state government, including the legislative and judicial branches, are coping with reduced resources. Now, these cuts, I have to note, also heavily impacted education and social services while protecting the rich. Now, they're saying we've got fiscal problems. We've got to cut government, right? We're going to cut these watchdog agencies. We're going to cut education. We're going to cut social services. You know what they didn't cut? Corporate welfare. You know what they decided not to do? Tax rich people. In fact, according to the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy, a national nonpartisan research organization that works on federal, state, and local tax policy issues, Connecticut's wealthiest people pay about 5.3% of their income in state and local taxes, while Connecticut's middle-income households pay about 10.7%, and Connecticut's poorest pay 10.5% on state and local taxes. Well, gee, that's a pretty regressive tax, where you have the richest people in Connecticut paying less than the middle class and the poor. Shouldn't that be the other way around? No, of course not. Of course not. We got to protect Connecticut's richest while cutting education and social services. Oh, and just so happen to cut the Watchdog groups who are investigating my own corruption. Golly gee, who would have thought? Look, man. Still, Malloy refuses to raise taxes on the rich because, obviously, he's a neoliberal. He seems like a neoliberal to me, anyway. And by the way, speaking of neoliberals, supporting neoliberals, guess who he's endorsed for president? Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders had a huge problem with him. Still has a huge problem with him. But hasn't really said a whole lot of him as of late. Now, as I said, this is classic cronyism, and of course a piss poor attempt to hide that cronyism under the guise of fiscal responsibility. However, there may still be hope for Connecticut yet. According to the article, the heads of the watchdog agencies argued that the cuts are impermissible under a 2004 law passed amid the corruption scandal that led to the criminal conviction of then Republican Governor John Rowland. Back then, after Rowland pushed to slash the watchdog agency's budgets, Connecticut lawmakers passed a bill aimed at preventing governors from unilaterally enacting such cuts in the future. The legislature discussed at length the importance of these provisions when they are enacted. The agency heads wrote to Malloy's administration. Many legislatures noted that the independence of the watchdogs relies on their ability to be free from budgetary reductions imposed by a single elected executive. The point was specifically made that once the legislatures had approved the appropriations for the three agencies, the governor cannot reduce allotments. A senior senator in Malloy's own party also agreed with that assessment. Now, this is Representative Tony Walker, who's a Democrat who co-chairs the State Appropriations Committee. She said, "From Watergate to Rowlandgate, we are all too familiar with the willful destruction of the public's trust by those in power. The watchdogs cannot face additional cuts outside of the budget process and do their jobs effectively." And that is why we need watchdogs. We need them to be free of these constraints so they can do their jobs. So they can point to where our politicians are doing wrong, and also, let reporters know so that they can get this information out to the people. Hey everybody, if you like this video, then please like this video and share. And if you want to see more like this, then please hit that subscribe button below.